Hey guys, this is the third video in the Great Spiritual Awakening series. Today we're going to look at evidence of reincarnation. This video has 3 parts. First, we'll learn about Dr. Ian Stevenson, the leader of reincarnation research. Second, we'll learn about his research into children who remember their past lives. And third, we'll learn about why it doesn't make sense that the children were lying about their past lives to get rich and famous. Now let's begin. Dr. Ian Stevenson, a Canadian-born American psychiatrist, came to the University of Virginia in 1957 to become the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry. About a year after that, Dr. Stevenson entered a writing contest about the question of life after death. Over the years, Dr. Stevenson collected reports of children who remembered their past lives. He decided to write an essay about it, and he entered the essay to the writing contest. Later, he learned that he won the contest. Interestingly, at the end of his essay, he said that it might be a good idea for someone to see whether there were more children who remembered their past lives. Little did he know that he would be the one to find more reincarnation cases. Sometime after Dr. Stevenson's essay was published, someone offered Dr. Stevenson a small amount of money to check out a few reincarnation cases in India. Originally, he was supposed to examine 5 reincarnation cases in India, but while he was in India, he examined 25 reincarnation cases. This phenomenon was far more common than he had thought. He later visited other Eastern countries and he found similar cases. Dr. Stevenson spent 40 years studying children who remembered their past lives. His research began in 1961. In the beginning, he worked alone, but then Dr. Stevenson began working with other respected scientists. Together, they gathered over 2,500 cases of children who remembered their past lives. However, based on the information that the children gave, the researchers were only able to find the past life identities of 1,500 cases. In other words, 1,500 cases were confirmed. Dr. Stevenson never made any grand claims. He simply documented the statements the children made about their past lives, and he went out to see whether those statements were true. He left it up to the readers to decide whether the information was evidence of reincarnation. In fact, in his final paper, Dr. Stevenson stated, "Let no one think I know the answer. I am still seeking." Dr. Stevenson's approach earned him respect by mainstream groups. Both the American Journal of Psychiatry and the Journal of American Medical Association reviewed Dr. Stevenson's work on reincarnation, and they both had positive things to say about it. Dr. Stevenson retired in 2002, and he died in 2007. Dr. Jim B. Tucker, an American child psychiatrist, became the leader of reincarnation research after Dr. Stevenson retired. Dr. Tucker was raised Southern Baptist, but he became curious about the idea of life after death and whether the scientific method could be used to study it. Now he combines spirituality and science through his research on reincarnation. Part 2. According to Dr. Stevenson's research, the average interval between death and life is 4.5 years, and the median interval is 16 months. Furthermore, the average age that children begin talking about their past lives is 3 years old, and the average age that children stop talking about their past lives is 7.5 years of age. Some of the children talk about their past lives in a detached way, while others talk about their past lives with strong emotions. Some of the emotional children beg to be taken to their past life families, and they cry every day because they want to be with the families. They also show anger to the people who murdered them in their previous lives. In fact, there was one boy who threw stones at his past life killer, and he told the killer that he would one day get his revenge. Soon after the children learn how to talk, many of the children say to their parents, "You're not my real mother, and you're not my real father. Take me to my real parents." And some of the children try to leave their homes to go to their past life homes. Many of the children remember the names of their past life family and friends. They remember personal stories about their past lives. They remember family secrets about their past lives. And they remember where they lived in their previous lives. What's more, they know the changes that were made to the buildings since their previous deaths. For example, a child might say, "That house used to be white. There used to be an olive tree in this location. There used to be a well in that location." They even know secret hiding spots. For instance, there was a girl who remembered hiding money beneath the floorboard in her previous life. In some cases, the previous family members tried to test the children by asking the children to sort out the things the children owned in their previous lives from the things they didn't own in their previous lives. The children successfully pick out their past life belongings. When some of the children meet their younger siblings of their previous lives, they tried to boss them around, even though the children are way younger than their past life siblings, and some of the children want their past life families to call them brother and father or sister and mother. Moreover, some are deeply attached to their previous families. For example, there was a boy who was still in love with his past life wife, and when he grew up, he married the wife even though she was much older. In 70% of the reincarnation cases, the previous person died by unnatural means such as accident, murder, suicide, and combat. This also means they died young. In the unnatural cases, more than 35% of the children have phobias about the death of their previous lives. For instance, there was a girl who had a phobia of going into water, hence she refused to take baths. It took 3 adults to get her to take baths. According to the girl, she drowned to death in her previous life. Addictions and habits can transfer from one life to the next. Some of the children who smoked cigarettes and drank alcohol in their previous lives would secretly try to get a hold of these things. 10% of the children remember being the opposite gender in their previous lives. In these cases, there is often gender confusion and gender dysphoria. For example, some of the girls wanted to dress in boys' clothes and vice versa, and there was even a boy who dressed up as a girl and said that he wanted to be a girl. The evidence of children who remember their past lives comes from all over the world except for Antarctica, but it is worth noting there are more cases from Eastern countries where people believe in reincarnation. In the West, many families are embarrassed because it seems weird. There was one mother who thought she was committing a sin just to buy a book and learn about reincarnation. Therefore, it may be more common in the West than people think. I also want to add that some of the children who remember their past lives have parents that are Christians, Muslims, Jews, and atheists. In some cases, parents say they had no belief in reincarnation until their children began talking about past lives and proving they had memories of past lives. Some parents were appalled when their children began talking about past lives. Here is a clip of a mother who didn't believe in reincarnation until her child changed her mind.
Many religions believe in reincarnation, but for most people raised as Christians, it's not something they expect. So when memories of past lives hit them, it can come as an unwelcome surprise.
I have never heard of something like that. Too pleased with it. I really don't. I mean, I'm enjoying my life, but do I want to keep coming back and back? I don't know about that.
Psychological testing and IQ testing was done on 15 children who remembered their past lives. According to the results, they did not have multiple personality disorder, and nearly all of them had significantly higher IQs than the general population. If you ask me, the most fascinating thing about the research is that about 35% of the children who remember their past lives have birthmarks and/or birth defects in the same locations as past life injuries. Let's briefly look at 7 such cases. Number 1. There was an Indian boy named Lekh Pal Jatav. Lekh Pal was born with a very rare birth defect on his right hand. His right hand had no fingers. When Lekh Pal was young, he remembered the past life of an Indian man named Hukum Sinj. Hukum accidentally put the fingers of his right hand into a fodder chopping machine, hence the fingers were chopped off. However, Hukum's right thumb was not chopped off. The location of Lekh Pal's very rare birth defect matched the location of Hukum's unusual injury. Number 2. There was an Indian boy named Titu Sinj. Titu had a birthmark on the right side of his head, near the front of his head. He had a bump behind his right ear, and he had a birthmark on the top side of his head. When Titu was young, he remembered the life of an Indian man named Suresh Verma. Suresh was fatally shot in the head. The entrance wound was on the right side of Suresh's head, near the front of his head, which is the same location as Titu's birthmark. The exit wound was behind the right ear of Suresh, which is the same location as the bump on Titu's head. And Suresh had a birthmark on the top of the head, which is the same location as Titu's other birthmark. 3 different marks on Suresh matched the locations of 3 different marks on Titu. Number 3. There was an Indian boy named Suklal Sharma. He was born with a chest concavity, which means his chest was caved inward. He was also born without fingers on his right hand, except for the pinky. This birth defect is extremely rare. It happens in 1 in 150,000 births. When he was young, he remembered the past life of an Indian man named Kashi Ram. Kashi Ram was murdered. The murderer shot Kashi in the chest, and then the murderer cut off all the fingers of Kashi's right hand except for the pinky. The locations of Kashi's unusual injuries match the locations of Suklal's rare birth defects. Number 4. There was a Thailand boy named Tian San Kla. He was born with a very rare skin condition called a varicose epidermal nevus, and he was born with a birthmark on his right big toe. When he was young, he remembered the past life of his uncle Phoh. Phoh was stabbed in the back of his head. That's how he died. The location of Phoh's fatal injury matches the location of Tiang's very rare skin condition. But what makes this more surprising is that not all varicose epidermal nevuses are on the back of the head. Sometimes they're on the feet or the legs or elsewhere, but Tiang's very rare skin condition is located in the same area as Phoh's fatal injury. Also, Phoh had an infection of his right big toe at the time of his death. Similarly, Tiang was born with a birthmark on his right big toe. Tiang's birthmarks match the locations of Phoh's injuries. Number 5. There was a Burmese girl named Myint Thein. She was born with short fingers on both her hands. When she was young, she remembered the past life of a Burmese man named Usain Wang. Usain was murdered, but before he was killed, the murderer sliced off the fingers of Usain Wang. Usain Wang's unusual injuries matched the locations of Myint Thein's rare birth defects. Number 6. There was a Turkish boy named Süleyman Çapar. He was born with a rare indent on the back left side of his head. When he was young, he remembered the past life of a Turkish man named Mehmet Bekler. Mehmet was murdered. The murderer hit Mehmet on the back of his head with a flour shovel. The location of Mehmet's unusual injury matched the location of Süleyman's rare birth defect. And number 7. There was a Lebanese boy named Tali Sowaid. He had 2 birthmarks on his cheeks. When he was young, he remembered the past life of a Lebanese man named Said Abul Hissin. Said was murdered. The murderer shot Said in the face. The bullet entered Said's left cheek, it penetrated Said's tongue, and the bullet exited Said's right cheek. The locations of Said's fatal injuries matched the locations of Tali's birthmarks. Also, the entrance wound on Said was smaller than the exit wound. Similarly, the birthmark on Tali's left cheek was smaller than on his right cheek. What's more, Tali had difficulty articulating. Likewise, near the time of Said's death, his tongue was so swollen that he could not speak. There are 18 reincarnation cases like Tali Sowaid. The children remember their past lives and they have 2 birthmarks that match the entrance and exit wounds of their previous lives, and the different sizes of their birthmarks correspond to the different sizes of the fatal injuries. You see, the universe is showing us that death is connected to birth. The birthmarks of children match the locations of the death marks of their previous lives, but it's up to us to wake up and realize that reincarnation is real. If you want to learn more reincarnation stories, check out my playlist on reincarnation. The link is in the description. Part 3. Dr. Stevenson was not interested in researching children who claimed to be famous people in their previous lives. If a child claimed to be the reincarnation of a deceased person, and if Dr. Stevenson could easily find information of the deceased person by looking at books, magazines, and TV shows, then Dr. Stevenson didn't want to research the case. It's also worth noting that the internet went public in 1993, MySpace went public in 2004, and Facebook went public in 2006. However, Dr. Stevenson conducted his research from 1961 to 2001. This means that none of the children in that time period could have obtained information about their past lives through social media. Social media didn't exist at that time. None of the children got paid for being a part of the research. Even the few children who became a part of documentaries and TV interviews were not paid for being on TV. Some of the children and parents of the research remain anonymous. famous, and some have been harassed for their claims. For example, there was a child who told people he was a Nazi in his past life. He was harassed by his classmates. If the children were talking about past lives to be famous, then they should be aiming for careers involving fame, but that is not the case. They go on to work regular jobs, and some don't have social media accounts. Hence, it doesn't make sense to say they were doing it all to get famous. I know there are people who refuse to believe in reincarnation no matter how much evidence of reincarnation that they come across. It seems they've decided that they will never accept reincarnation, but does that sound like someone who is searching for the truth? It sounds to me like these people are very close-minded. If the truth was that we experience reincarnation, these people would never realize it because they've completely closed themselves off to the idea. Hey guys, if you're looking for a thought-provoking spiritual book, check out The Great Spiritual Awakening. The link is in the description. And in the next video, we will learn about why we experience reincarnation. Click on the thumbnail to watch the video, and last but not least, have an amazing, wonderful day.